Hey everybody, welcome to Tune Up, a Shopmonkey podcast where we talk about the automotive industry and car care, specifically the 99% of a car's life that's spent outside of the dealership. In this episode, we're going to be talking about specialty automotive repairs. What are the pros and cons of specialization? How niche should your shop be? Would you specialize by vehicle type or the type of work that you offer? My name is Zach, and alongside of the rest of the Shopmonkey colleagues here today, we make up your Tune Up crew, all with various perspectives, passions, and insight into the automotive industry. Let me introduce you to the rest of the crew. Here we got Mike Camaro Bordeaux. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, man? Happy to be here.
Yeah. How about John Mustang Moretti?
Ooh, hello.
Lucas Supra Conyer.
What's going on, everyone?
What's up, dude? Sounds like you made your own nickname for that.
Immediately a little jealous. That's fine. Wait, no, I like mine. I got Camaro, right? That's fine.
You had Camaro,
Yes.
Mike, yes.
That's all
Okay,
right.
hold on. We got Camaro, Mustang, Supra. All right. Gallagher, F-150, Wilson. Jeez, that's like right on the nose there.
Yeah, man. How's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zach, and we got yourself, Zach Tundra Buffum.
I smell collusion. Both of the hosts got Toyotas, and I got shelved with some Ford product. No, I'm just kidding.
Camaro, Mustang, F-150, Supra, Tundra.
I'm gonna say no. I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna say like most highest selling model for each manufacturer. That's not accurate at all. Definitely be Corolla if it was
two Fords.
Yeah. I mean, they're ridiculously popular models.
We got
Yeah,
trucks,
maybe like longest running
ooh
brand or model.
close.
Yeah, the Supra had a big dip out. I don't know.
Suburban would be longer running than Camaro.
Oh yeah, Suburban or Super throws a
I didn't think
wrench
this was
in
going
there.
to stump you guys this much. All right.
Okay. All right.
Most.
That's enough.
Last time it was like dream garages from certain road and track editors or something. Of course it stumped us.
Yeah. All right, dude. Give it to us. What is this?
Okay. These are all vehicles that NASCAR has based their stock cars on.
Oh,
Tundra, F-150, Supra. I was going to throw a Corolla in there, but I felt like the Corolla might actually give it all away if we threw a
Or
Corolla
the Camry,
in there.
right?
Well, it was a
I'm sorry,
Camry, yeah.
Camry in there.
Yeah.
Camry,
Yeah.
yes.
First, hey, why did you get out of here, bro? You're not even allowed to live in the state you live in if you're going to mistake that NASCAR vehicle.
He's so angry he can't even finish his sentence, man. That's how upset he is.
I was about to say like exactly where you live, and then I was like, I probably should do that.
Thanks, Brady. Really appreciate it.
It's a state that is
NASCAR.
recognized for being a NASCAR fan. That's in my mind.
It is fair. Very, yeah. But
Comment below what state you think Lucas lives in. Sorry, Lucas.
You're really going in on this one.
So
huh,
sorry.
Brady? But yeah, stock
awesome.
cars. Stock cars that NASCAR bases their stock cars off of. Pretty cool. Even although they're very far from anything like those stock cars. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
So fun fact in Moretti history, I toured with NASCAR for a couple years, and I didn't know that they change from the Camry to the Supra for Toyota's,
It's one of the series. I forget.
Oh, okay.
Is it the Xfinity series? I think the Xfinity series uses the Supra, and then the other one, the Camry's still out there, I believe.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I didn't know they added the Supra. That's cool.
Wait, so we can put Groupie in Moretti's background.
I was working, sir.
Awesome.
I was just
working.
waiting for him to be like,
okay.
Richard Petty was my uncle. Coming from Brady, man, believe it. I'm like, yeah, Richard Petty is Moretti's uncle. Yep.
Let's go ahead and jump into our main topic. I'm especially excited about this one because we have some specialists present with us. But we've heard about independent shops that specialize in just specific vehicle type manufacturers. So like Honda, Acura specialists, things like that. And we also seen shops that focus on very specific like alignments, exhaust work, and things like that. What do you think about a shop that specializes only in of whether it be work or types of car? What's the benefit of that? Or do they miss out on things on not being more kind of generic or all encompassing? Or is there, dude, if you get a specialization right, that's going to be your trip to Moneytown? Like what are the pros and cons when considering this, or maybe it's even, what about reducing your generalization down to a specialization, or taking your specialization and expanding to more generalized options to offer from your shop?
One ticket for Moneytown, please.
Marty, was that a money cannon you were holding earlier? You were like,
yes, it was. But hey, Gallagher,
no, I said Mustang. I was doing the Mustang.
It was a Honda Toyota. No, can you remind me?
Yeah. So I did a couple. The first one was Honda Toyota Subaru. The second shop I worked at was Subaru, and then we opened up to Honda Toyota. So I always lived in that sort of Japanese, you could say Japanese specific specialties. I loved it. I thought it was great. I think that the specific advantages were the specialization in knowledge and tooling, right? So thinking internally around tooling, every tech or shop person listening knows every make of car has their own special tools and sockets and things that you need to have to be able to really service them efficiently. If you're trying to service into that
a little more, just because I know a lot of our techs listening, but I know for like people who are just car owners and like we've tried to help a lot with the relationship between owner and shop. So just because I know what you're talking about, but I'll give you
an example that's hanging in my garage wall right now. I have a special wrench that you buy for Ford truck fan clutches because I have a Ford F-350, and there's other ways to get it off, but it's easier with a special wrench, right? So I bought this $40 tool that I used so far once because it's the tool you have to do the job efficiently, right? And so this is like that's an example of what I'm talking about with tooling. There's any make of car, there's probably thousands of dollars of special tools that you might use or might be more efficient with, even if you can work around without them. So specialization gives you the ability to hone in on that and say, I don't have to go spend 20 grand on all the special tools for 15 different makes of cars. I can, focus on, I'm going to get the top 10 tools I need for Subaru, for example, or whatever the case may be, right? Specialization in knowledge for the techs, right? The Subaru shop that I worked at, my techs were fantastic, and they could, pretty much look at a car and be like, oh, it has this code and I see this, so it's this problem, right? Because they see the same patterns over and over again. It's the same reason you have, you got a skin issue, you're going to go to a dermatologist, right? Not a endocrinologist first, right? They're that kind of pathway to say, hey, they have the specialized knowledge and testing and tool sets around this. I think that benefits customers.
Someone's going to have to define those for me at some point.
So I don't know why that came out.
Mike's I'm not here to talk about cars, and there's a lot of ologists getting thrown around.
Dude,
some fancy doctor talk here. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what
I had to go there. But I think that there's a lot of benefit for the customers in that, right? So if you take your car, if you have a Honda and you take it to someone who specializes in Honda, you're probably going to get more value for your dollar at your repair dollar, because they're going to be able to go right to the problem. They know the patterns that may fail in that particular model. It's not a knock on general repair shops at all. Like, I realize if you're in a rural area, it probably doesn't work very well to try and hyper specialize on one thing. But if you're in a urban environment where there's 50 shops around you, pick a niche and dive into it, because I think you could actually build a really strong, loyal customer base around that.
I love that point. The final point of like really depending on the area that you're coming from and what's locally available to your customer base. I think that's a massive deciding factor. Yeah, because it won't work in some rural areas, but in a more congested area, even if you're a newer shop starting out, maybe that idea of specializing and saying, well, how am I going to compete with these, 10, 15 shops in my zip code or in the local area of zip codes? That's an interesting thought. I mean, I've only ever seen in our area exactly, well, even back in New Jersey, but even here in the state that I will not mention because you guys have not given it away yet.
It's not New Jersey, folks. One off the list, baby.
49 to go.
Almost 49 to go. Up there. But I personally am a massive fan of the specialized shops from like a Toyota Lexus perspective, but I think it also depends on the market that you're trying to appeal to. I think if it's anyone who's very much enthusiast based, kind of like, I need the maintenance or anything like that to be done a specific way, I want it to be done to that caliber of work. Once again, not a knock at general automotive shops at all. It just depends who's shopping around for what kind of work. So it can't hurt to have that kind of specialization, but also heavily depends on the area you're in. Might not work everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Marty, I think you
I
could
think
speak to this
that,
too with your BMW side, right?
Yeah, I had the good fortune or bad fortune, depending on how you look at it, to work in a BMW specialist shop. And market's a great point. So I think the thing about specialization is you can't. I'm a big fan of organic growth. I don't think you can plan too far ahead. You have to be able to flex with what your market, what the economy is doing, right? What your customer base wants. But if you think about the type of shop you want to run and what type of business you want to own, or what type of shop you want to work at, or what type of shop you want to go be a patron of, market matters and your growth path matters, right? So, for example, in my market, I'm in Southern California. You can't sneeze without hitting a BMW shop. Like, they're everywhere. There's specialist BMW shops everywhere because it's like a huge, popular car in this market. So it's almost harder. Like, I wouldn't recommend, even though there's so many BMW enthusiasts and there's so many shops that have opened up, just in my time in this space and that niche, I've seen some open and close. I've seen some open and be successful. It's like twice as challenging because you're competing with every other specialist shop in that moment. However, on the flip side, if you're in a place that maybe doesn't have a BMW specialist shop, that's a rapid way to start growing. If that's a skill set you have or that you want, you could get potentially a larger customer base quicker if you're like, oh, well, if I'm searching for shops and, I see a shop, this is, John's Repair, or this is BMW Specialist USA, I'm like, oh, I kind of want to go to these guys because I drive a BMW. That's an idea. And then it also bleeds into, so there's market, there's customer base, as you mentioned, right? So people that are enthusiastic owners of German cars know that they are very specific in how they have to be cared for, or else they implode and try to kill. No, I'm just kidding. That's probably too far, but they can fail spectacularly if you don't follow specifically, as opposed to some cars where you can be a little more lenient on your service schedule. So I might want a specialist, like, right? Whether I like the shop or not, whether it's cheap or expensive, doesn't matter. I'm gonna go to the specialist because I know that they know my vehicle. And then on the shop side, as Gallagher was talking about, right? I have a socket that's a specific size for the oil filter housing in my BMW, because it's not just a spin-on oil filter. I have a certain housing that I have to take off that has a specific size socket that opens that housing that I take the filter in and out of. I also have a clutch fan that I've used exactly one time. I'm so pumped that I paid for it, and it now sits on my wall because it's very specific to that one piece on that BMW. If you're going to invest in tools, and you have to make that decision at some point as a shop or as a technician, depending on how the shop works, right? So in our shop, for example, most of our technicians had all their own tools, but the shop carried a lot of cost for the specialty tools. So, all of your power tools, your air tools, your ratchets, your wrenches, all those, that was all owned by the technicians. But we bought and stocked a lot of like Porsche clutch alignment tools and BMW clutch wrenches, fan clutch, and all the things that were specific to our specialization, we stocked or built for our team members to utilize. And that was part of our investment and what helped us. We've talked about drawing talent on this show, like helped us draw talent because we provided them the tools to dig deeper into their talent base, right? We've talked about getting BMW specific software and paying for that and the training around that and stuff. So I think those are all things that can help you get off the ground quicker in certain scenarios. And then I don't want to go on and on, but the flip side is,
we know you will.
Yeah. How dare you? The flip side to that is you can pigeonhole yourself a little bit into the point where we would have customers come in and be like, oh, I didn't know you guys did brakes. Like, I thought you only did BMW performance builds, as opposed to like, I didn't realize I could get my AC recharged here. And that was a constant battle we fought, which is we had the name recognition and the community recognition of our specialty. But we didn't have the ease of use for someone driving by to feel like they could just stop by for a squeaky belt.
I think that brings up a great point. We have a local street where we have a muffler shop, transmission shop, general automotive shop, quick lube shop, and a custom wheel shop, all on the same block. Buildings are almost touching each other completely. And at least by looking at the size of the building and the quality of the building, the paint job and stuff like that, the general automotive shop is doing better than all of them. And so I think that there's something to say, especially like you said earlier, your point is knowing your consumer, knowing your market, who you're after. I think there's opportunities for good partnerships when you have something as specialized as transmission shop, muffler shop, things like that.
Yeah.
But there's also a cap, right? You're giving yourself a ceiling as far as what's perceived of what you can do, and breaking that ceiling can be a challenge in and of itself. But on the other hand, you know, I might not want to go to Applebee's for my steak. I might want to go to a steakhouse. You know, I might pay a premium for a nice juicy steak. But then again, if I want to go to a place where I can feed my kids also, I'm not going to go to a steakhouse. I'm going to go where they can get some decent chicken fingers and mac and cheese, right? So
The kids don't get Mortons around here, okay?
I actually think that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
From my perspective, right, being on the other end of the shop, for the customer, I think you're almost guaranteed to benefit every single time from the specialist, at least like from the make and model specialty shops. When you get into like general repair versus specialty shops, I think, you know, steakhouse is a perfect example, right? If I'm hungry, I can go anywhere and probably be happy. But if I'm looking for a steak, if I'm looking for a specific fix, I need to go to somebody who I believe is going to do a good job making my steak or fixing my car. I think at least for most businesses that I talk to, younger businesses, assuming that they're, you know, mom and pop getting started on their own, you should probably specialize as much as you can afford to at first, to build that trust, to build relationships with customers, to establish with the customer base, like this person knows what they're doing with this type of car. And as a mechanic, you know, you spend a lot of time getting familiar with cars, and there are people who can adapt to every type of make and model, and everyone's already called attention to the tooling. I think that's the biggest. Like just about anybody could probably pick up a Japanese car for the most part. When I went into Volkswagen, I spent an extra almost $3,000 in tools day one, you know?
Triple
and that was
it's all day.
triple square, man. And that was with a specialty, you know, OE that has most, if not all of the mandatory specialty tools that, you know, you can expect to require for advanced jobs. Independents don't have OE resources. And if they do, they have to pay a lot of money for that. So the more types of cars you service, the more you're going to pay for those resources. And if you don't have those resources, you either have a technician who at some point is going to go away from your shop. You're going to lose that knowledge base, and you're not going to be able to really train that. Or, you know, you have to fork up for a lot of advanced materials. So in my opinion, as somebody who is looking at this as giving advice to a customer, try and find the person who's the Toyota specialist, the Volkswagen specialist. If you're not going to the OE, in all likelihood, they're going to know how to take care of your car. Personally, even if it's general maintenance, but you know, if you're looking for steak, if you're looking to get your alternator fixed, at least start there.
I want to thread a couple of things there together from what you and Mike and Moretti both said. I think there's an aspect to, maybe this is a little controversial, but I'm known for going a little controversial. I wonder if from the talent side, if as a specialized shop, you have an advantage in attracting tech talent, right? If I think there's a lot of techs who probably find a niche they prefer to work in, right? For me, clearly it was Japanese auto. It's what I started in, but I got very comfortable with it. You throw me under the hood of a German car and I'm kind of lost. You know, because it is a little bit of a different world. And I don't wonder if that gives an advantage to a shop to say, hey, we can hire inside of a niche and maybe get a higher tier of technician as someone who's focused in and spent 5, 10, 20 years building the tooling, the knowledge and their craft around a specific niche. Sure. Doesn't necessarily be manufacturer either. You know, one of the things I was thinking about, because again, I'm pretty rural. There's actually a fair number of diesel specialists out here, right? That's something that's big, maybe more so in rural areas where you get, you know, guys who work on the big 3 diesel trucks, right? Ford, Chevy, Ram, and that's what they do, and they know those diesel engines inside and out. And the guys who do that love to do that, right? So you might have a window of saying, hey, we can actually attack a better tech, a better talent, if we're inside of a niche as well. Is my thought there?
Yeah, there's like another level of passion that goes into these shops. I think that's what I've observed at some that I've visited over time. Is just it's really cool to see not to say that shops in general, all types of shops don't have that passion there. You have a passion to start a business. Sometimes those specialty shops really go down that passionate level of like, I want to maintain this type of vehicle or this type of work, and the skill that I put into this and what I've done to learn these skills, I want to pass along to everyone who comes across my business. And so I think that's, at least from what I've experienced, has always been the really cool thing to see, is how much passion they have behind the specialty work that they do.
I think that's a great point, Lucas, because it's another great thing to think about, whether you're starting a shop, whether you own a shop now, manage a shop, work in a shop, whatever it is. But when you think about what gets you fired up about that job or that ownership, right? Do you want to be like, I just want to run a great business? Well, then maybe a specialty shop isn't there, because that can become a labor of love, right? There are scenarios where the specialty drives you, but if you're not driven by that specialty, then it may not make sense for you to run a shop or own a shop or work at a shop that is specialty driven, because you're like, because you don't derive that level of passion from that specific, generation or manufacturer or what have you, you're going to lose a lot of potentially what would be better served by being a generalist. And that's certainly both for the work that you do, whether you're a technician or whether you're an owner, right? Where if what gets you excited is a good business that provides a good employment for your team and provides a good service to the community and provides you with a good way to make money and profit and build for your family, then be general. That's great. You can be excited that way and build systems and build a business that is successful in that fashion, which awesome point. I just think that there's a lot to that. Whereas on the flip side, on the tough days, if you are a specialist that does love a very specific thing, then the tough days, sometimes that love of that specificity will get you through.
I think that bleeds into marketing too, and to your point, Lucas, around specialization, right? And sort of the passion that tends to drive that. If I think through the automotive businesses that run YouTube channels that I enjoy watching, they very heavily weighted towards specialists, right? Whether it's race or diesel or, maybe a specific make. I'm thinking of a specific channel guy out of Arizona, I think, who only does a lot of heavy duty diesel engines and puts a lot of content on them. And does a really, really good job of it and explaining, his videos, going through why he does what he does, and how they've developed those processes. It's really cool. And you can see that passion bleed through, which, then occasionally he'll talk about somebody will tow a truck from 2 states over to have them do the engine rebuild on it, right? Which is that marketing arm, and you're picking up on the passion for the specialization. And then with, however your marketing effort play into that, you're opening yourself up to a huge customer base potentially. People are really attracted to that just energy, I guess.
Mike, did you not ship an engine across country for a very similar story?
That's a good point. Yeah. Obviously I had a pretty unique motor, and I'm a pretty peculiar person when it comes to my cars in general, but, with Subarus in particular, they're a pretty unique engine that you can't just take it to any engine builder. I ended up, because of COVID and all the fun of navigating shipping things during COVID, I ended up having to ship mine across country just to find the person who knows how to properly build an engine at a price that I could afford. Right. So, I had to look for that person online. Thankfully, Google search is all I had to do to ultimately locate them. And that was actually tying back to the point I was about to make. I'm pretty sure I've brought this up before, but a colleague internally has asked me before, like, hey, where should I take my Lexus? And I was like, oh, just find a Lexus specialist. And then I was just like, all right, cool. Thumbs up. Have a nice day. I'm good at giving advice. All right. And then like half an hour later,
I rock at this.
I was like, well, let me see. I knew he was in Chicago and like the Chicago area. So I was like looking for a specialist and just doing like a general like Lexus specialist in Chicagoland. Like, nope. 30 Google ads have nothing to do with what I'm looking for. I was like, oh, this is actually really hard.
Shout out to any of you, Chicagoland folks that opportunity knocks.
There it is. Right
listen.
Untapped market.
The conversation has very much leaned towards specialization is preferred. And I'm wondering if that's just because of where kind of generally we sit and what we know about the industry and automotive nature and things like that. If you were to ask a cousin, your significant other, who maybe is not in the automotive world, would they even think twice to go to us, or would they even consider or think about a specialization shop? Are they just going to go, hey, Bill's shop, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to go there because it's close. Like, are you, is the downside to the specialization lowering your target audience? Your TAM is now down because
absolutely.
it's just ignorance is out there when it comes to vehicles.
You're going to have to define
that's where
TAM.
I love your point.
Sorry, total addressable
software.
You got it.
Sorry,
But Moretti, that's where I love your point, because I think that's exactly what separates the super successful general automotive shops is that passion for running just a well-oiled machine of a business.
Yeah,
that's just where, like, if you put that heart and passion behind that, it seeps and shows everywhere on from marketing to customer kind of loyalty and everything else that's going on there. And I think that's what really appeals to that general audience, to the mindset that is not on this, like on this podcast right now of like, oh no, I need something very special because I'm thinking about it too technically. 100%. That's a great call out, Zach. I think it's a fault of our own of like having worked on it a little bit ourselves, or just knowing the intricacies of something that might happen. But if you could be a really good teacher and a really good business person that just cares passionately about the customers that come through that business, through that door of yours, that is a specialty in its own of just running a very passionate business.
In no uncertain terms, this group on this call is a specific type of car nerd that is going to lean towards specialization. So let's be real. We are definitely predisposed. So it's good to call it out. Yeah. I think your point is great, because you talked about when Zach, when you said if your cousin or your friend or your family member asks you about a shop recommendation, right? I don't think anyone has ever asked me, hey, do you know a good BMW shop? I think the only question I've ever gotten from people outside of my car friend circle is, do you know a good mechanic? Or I need someone to work on my car. They've never said I need someone to work on my year, make, model. And then my question is always like, can you show me that VIN? What's the year, make, model? That, because I know how I'm going to look at it. But so I think that's a great point. I don't think consumers.
I don't think it should be their responsibility either. I think there's maybe there's a stigma in the automotive industry that you're going to get ripped off, and I think some of that has to do with the people that are specialists. The OEs charge too much money. They tend to offer services that aren't valid or necessary. And, the independent space doesn't have the same resources to provide the same quality of service. So maybe they don't even attempt to really hone in on a specific maker model. But I think if you were to, in my opinion, lean into it more, I think you would see a better customer experience. And I think people would slowly shift away from this lack of skilled labor mindset on our industry, or on the automotive industry.
Sure. I think the, going back to, I'm just thinking about my shop, and when you're trying to think about your business plan or how you're going to make money, how you're going to survive, all those things, oftentimes the specialization leads to a longer, vehicle life cycle. I want to say, like, if you run a generalist shop, I think the age of vehicles and the condition of those vehicles is probably, I'm super generalizing, but it's probably going to be newer vehicles that are driving around. Right? Where as a specialist shop, because we specialize, we got older and older vehicles, because those only people that are passionate about certain vehicles keep old boxes running, keep old trash heaps on the road. So like a lot of people would look at my BMW and be like, that's an old, creaky, scratched, leaky BMW, which, by the way, mine doesn't leak. I worked very hard to just calling it out. Not one drop on my driveway in over a year and a half, just calling it out. But that's what folks are going to see. I had to get a smog check because I'm in California, and literally the smog guys were like, we can't, did you just clean this? How did you get all that? And I'm like, yeah, terrible. That's how I live. Anyway.
No, you're making this up. I don't believe
so. Hashtag humble brag.
That is one leaky BMW, Moretti. We all know it.
Wow. At 2. Okay. So the generalist opens you up to a different concept and different type of customer, but also the economic, I started this thought for the economics of running your business, because specialty work can also mean vehicles with longer lifespans, more intricate work that you're doing. And as a shop person, the longer a car is on the rack, the longer a vehicle is in the shop, your ratio of profit can often very quickly start to disappear, right? If it has to sit, if you have to wait on special parts, if you have to work on rusty vehicles, right? That profit zone of making money on that time spent is going to slowly get smaller and smaller. So when you run a specialist shop, you have to think about who's my team, what do I care about, what does my team care about, and you really have to build an economics of scale for specialist jobs. So you find not only specialty vehicles that you'll work on, but then jobs on those vehicles that you can maybe do a little bit faster. Or, when we talk about the OEM might say, I'm researching the off-road Cayenne, first gen Cayenne scene right now. So where there's like a leaky coolant pipes that require, have plastic fittings. And if you go to a shop that's like, oh, you took it to the dealer, they're like, well, that's an engine out. You have to, take the transmission out, engine out job. Whereas a specialty shop has honed their skill set. They're like, well, actually we can tilt it, get in this way and get it done in an hour instead of the 8-hour job that is dropping the whole engine, right? Which is, there's the designated way to do it, and then there's a way that works just fine. And where a specialty shop can get you in and out quicker, cheaper, because they know the way that works just fine. But that only works if you can do it faster and it works, and you're not bringing it back in 5 times where now you've not made any money. So there's an opportunity and a risk with specialization where you have to be able to get through the economics of those tricky jobs. But that opportunity is there. Whereas in a more generalist shop, you're going to average a lot more general work, which I'm just going to keep saying generally will get in and out faster, right? And I know a lot of shops that'll bounce out. They only do hyper specific, they only do hyper general work. And if anything gets past that hyper general work, they're like, oh, you need transmission work, you got to go to a transmission specialist. We're not even going to try to help you, not because we don't want to, but because it doesn't make sense for us, for our skill set and our business, and we don't make money doing that work. So we will get everything as much as we can, and we're going to send you to a specialist.
Transmission type of work is a perfect example of why you need a specialist too. I think it's a fantastic example. Really, to master rebuilding all sorts of year, make, and models of transmissions, you pretty much just need to focus. It's an entire different career path. Same for someone who goes into collision and body versus general repair, right? And you can obviously have some skills that bleed into one or the other, but your mastery is typically going to be more specialized. And, as a customer, again, I kind of maybe repeating myself here a little bit, but you want to find somebody that is skilled as possible at what they do. I think Moretti, you said most bang for the buck. So,
yeah.
I think
that was Gallagher, but I'll take it. I'll take the
Gallagher.
I mean, to your point, I had a.
Can we go to the tape?
I had a good time. I was a pretty good tech, and I had a good time pulling an automatic transmission in and out of my wife's Prelude 4 times to rebuild it, and it never actually worked quite right, even after those 4 times. And so, yeah,
I would love, by the way, to take this opportunity to tell a shop, you don't have to take every job. It can feel, especially when you're fresh, or especially when times are tight, you can feel like you want to take on every job, but oftentimes the payoff will be better to farm out specialty work to specialists. And hey, we're going to do this, this, and this. I'll take your car over to a specialist, right? If you have you can sublet that work. Don't let yourself get drawn into thinking that you have to take on everything, or that your team has to take on everything. Obviously, there's opportunities for people to learn, know when you can take those risks and stuff like that. But I think that's a mistake. I saw shops that didn't make it in my market, that I was friendly with. Anything that rolls through the door, yes, we'll take it, we'll do it. And then you end up so deep into stuff that you can't fix, and then you've not made any money because of the time you've spent on it. Or worse, you got a car coming back every 2 weeks, like Gallagher's transmission, where it's like, you've definitely not made it. In fact, you've lost quite a bit of money on that third go around trying to warranty your work.
And you had to deal with Gallagher 4 times.
What you're speaking is
2
facts.
weeks would have been great.
At the same time, my ego prevents me sometimes from handing it off. Like, no, I'm going to figure it out, man. I'm 2 days in. I'm getting it. I'm going to solve this problem.
Well, what do you guys think out there? If you are a car owner, do you find yourself going to specialty shops? Would you now, after listening to some of the points we made, go to more specialty shops as a result? If you're a shop owner and you're on either side, generalization or specialization, what do you think about what we just said? Are you pissed? Are you mad? Let us know, right? If you think we're right on, yeah, I'd love to hear that too. Actually, I'd like to hear that better.
Yeah, I'm into that second one, man.
This podcast was brought to you by Shopmonkey, the digital solution for shop management in automotive shops across America. If you're interested in learning more about our product, go to shopmonkey.com, or check out the link in the description. Share your thoughts with us. Share your comments below. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us.